So asking for rec letters can be a really daunting process. Generally, I think students have around 6 rec letters in general. Like if you are going to be applying to several schools, usually you'll need about 6 rec letters, maybe 2 biology related, one outside of like the medical sciences, and then maybe some club directors, something like that, your research coordinator. So you have to get a lot of rec letters, and it can be really intimidating to ask people for a rec letter, especially you probably respect these people. You're mortified that they might say no or something like that, and like how would that feel? Don't worry, everybody goes through that. I had the same feelings, or if they were just kind of like, I I don't know how good it would be. Like that would just be, ugh, that would just feel terrible, I think. But there are ways to approach asking for the rec letter. So if you're going into a class, uh, you can go in with the mindset like, hey, I want to get a rec letter from this class. Maybe you after your first week, you're like, I really like this teacher. This class seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm ready to work hard in it, and so do things like show up to the teacher's office hours. Maybe get to know the TAs pretty well. That way, if the teacher needs some more reinforcement, or needs to consult them about the rec letter, they'll have only positive things to say about you. But if you go in and you talk to the teacher, you can perhaps your teacher's doing research at the school, whatever it may be. You look up what that teacher's doing for research, and kind of like dive into that a little bit. And you can bring that up. You can, if you have a genuine question, go in and talk to them about the research. From my experience, teachers love talking about their research, especially if you bring it up and you say, "Oh, I read one of your papers, and I saw this. I was just curious about such and such." They love that, and that's one of the easiest ways to just get at least conversation going with the teacher. And you know, I went to a big school, and it can be really difficult to really get the teacher one on one. I mean, maybe there's no other students at office hours with you, but you have 300 plus kids in your class, and how is the teacher even going to remember you? They're not going to take the time to remember your name. So in those cases, I did this for one of my letters of rec. I really got to know a TA really well, and you can go to the TA and say, hey, at the end of the semester, I went to the TA and said, I am applying to med school, and I was wondering if you and the professor would be willing to write me a letter of rec. I'd gotten an A in a class, and he said absolutely. So he went and talked to the professor. I knew the professor just a little bit. I had some interaction, but the TA was willing to go and talk to the professor and say, hey, this kid is asking me for a rec letter. And so what happens in those cases is that like the TA will write the bulk of the rec letter, and the professor, you might meet with the professor and have like a small discussion with them so they can get to know you. You'll probably have to send them like your resume or something. But yeah, the TA will generally write the bulk of the letter, and the professor will verify that and talk about, hey, this kid got awesome grades in my class. I got to meet him. I talked to him a few times, and I have no reservations about this student. So it can be challenging just to kind of loop back around to ask for those letters, but just go in with the understanding that these teachers, a lot of them, the profs, they'll know what you're kind of embarking on. They'll know that it's an intimidating process, and a lot of them are very approachable people. So just do your best, work up the courage, and go ahead and ask them. You can just shoot them an email off the start saying that, expressing your intent and asking if you could meet up with them. And usually at that point they'd tell you what their stance is. So I hope this helped you in terms of asking for those rec letters, because that's probably one of, I think, the most difficult parts of the application process. So hope that all goes well for you, and I'll see you next time.